Do you ever think that we will get to that place where we were before in terms of that social kind of acceptability to be shoulder to shoulder with a virtual stranger? Do you think we'll come back to where we were before, where we all kind of collided?
Yeah.
Or do you think that we're now
I don't think so, no.
meted?
I'm not, I mean, I don't know about the sort of medical sort of aspect of it on the actual space thing, but I don't think that workforces in general will ever not want to have the option to work remotely for some periods of time. I think now we've all had a taste of this work-life balance, and certainly all the stats I've read point to good levels of productivity. And also, you know, bosses, in inverted commas, are learning to trust their staff more to work remotely and not constantly be there checking on them and this, that, and the other. And again, that has to be a good thing, doesn't it? To build that trust amongst your own workforce. And certainly going forward, you know, if you don't trust your workforce going into this really, really tough period, well, what's the point? You've hired the wrong people.
Definitely. How is it working with your business? I know that you've got a couple of people within the kind of ABL, isn't it? The company there. How is everybody else finding it?
I think, you know, we all have good and bad days, don't we? I mean, there are that's human nature, I think, at the moment, because it's so sort of uncertain. Luckily, we have a fantastic group of people, and everyone's pulled together. Everyone's worked very aware, not just on a work level, but on a social level. Some of our people live on their own, for instance. So colleagues have rallied around them and made sure that, you know, there's been constant contact. One of our colleagues actually kindly, unannounced, turned up a couple of weeks ago at one of the girls who lives alone with 2 bags of shopping, just as a really sweet gesture. So no, they're a really good bunch of people, and you know what recruitment people are like. They're pretty tough, resilient individuals. But yeah, you know, it's tough, but they've stood up really well so far. I'm very, very, very proud of them all.
Brilliant. Oh, that's really good to hear. And I'm presuming as well that you're in regular contact then as well with the team.
Yeah.
Has everybody adjusted to that whole sort of Zoom meeting kind of mentality, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they have.
And things?
Yeah, they have. I mean, we try and we do some serious ones and more light-hearted ones than serious ones, to be honest. So yeah, no, it's good to see everyone. It's good to get them all involved. We have a weekly sort of Friday evening drinks thing. We do the usual aforementioned pub quiz, which again is perhaps getting a little repetitive. We'll try and maybe do a game show next time, or Stars in Their Eyes or something like that.
You can find, so this worked really brilliantly for us. We got really bored of the whole sort of like finding the questions thing. And so what we decided to do was everybody must have Pictionary in their house somewhere, like the game.
Yes.
So you all get the box of quiz games, and then you split into teams across. And so you might have the ladies versus the gents, or you might have, I don't know, 1 to 6, and then the odds and the evens starting out. And so you end up with this sort of everybody asking questions. It's ridiculous. It's total chaos. We also
sounds good.
Yeah, it was good fun. And then the other one was so you've got Pictionary where you're drawing and putting stuff on camera, or even using your mouse to draw. It's ridiculous. I don't know if anybody's done
that. Oh my gosh.
As someone who prides themselves in being quite creative, I am shocking at drawing.
Yes, no, that would challenge my artistic skills. My art teacher said of my art, he said, James is more suited to painting the garden gate than subtle watercolour. So yes, there we go.
Oh well, there's definitely jobs at my house for that kind of level of garden gate painting.
I love a bit of gardening, so I'll come and do that for you as well, Claire.
Yeah, that would be fabulous, because I'm really rubbish at both. So let's talk a bit more then about how we things kind of think things are going to pan out. So we talked about the areas that you recruit for right now. John's put
Yes.
into the chat, and I think it was to something that you mentioned earlier on around moving to a 4-day week. Do you think that that's going to be, your clients thinking that that might be even more possible with the levels of productivity up, the remote working, less pay for kind of office space and things like that? Do you think that 4-day week is possible?
Well, one of my clients has already done that, actually. This was pre-lockdown, and they are a business that they're an agency essentially for speakers, mainly for retired or semi-retired politicians or business leaders. And they're a global business, and they went to a 4-day week, I think 6 to 12 months ago, and it's working fantastically for them. Because it does build this incredible loyalty amongst your staff as well. And going back to the trust piece, how trusting is that? I'm saying to you, Claire, I think that you are so good at your job, and I trust you to do your job so well that I know you can do it in 4 days rather than 5 days. I mean, that's the ultimate compliment, is it not?
So long as you get the salary, that'd be brilliant.
Exactly. You look at your first pay slip. Oh my God. Whether that will, I don't think that will necessarily happen soon and immediately, because businesses, it's going to take a couple of quarters for businesses just to reset themselves and to assess where they're at, headcount wise, strategy wise, all of those things we've spoken about. But no, I do think it will happen at some point. Not across the board, certainly, particularly in financial services and professional services in general, I don't think necessarily, but certainly in a lot of other sectors, absolutely.
You touched on earlier on the number of people on furlough. Personally, my husband's furloughed at the moment, and he's going to go through a giant restructure, and it's a really big global business. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yes.
Having been through a number of redundancies myself through the years, I'm really okay with that. But obviously, everybody reacts differently.
Sure.
The people that are furloughed right now, if redundancy does end up being one of those sort of tactics for organisations to regroup, is there any kind of playbook, or is there any kind of advice you would give to people, or what kind of process would you suggest for organisations looking to kind of bring people back, but maybe not as many as they furloughed in the first place?
I think once you've made your mind up managerial wise, you have to try and be as transparent as possible with your staff. And people aren't daft. Recruitment individuals, particularly the successful ones, are very commercial people. They read the newspapers, they keep an eye on who's hiring, who's not hiring. So it's not going to come as a shock to people. So don't underestimate their intelligence, number one. Be as transparent as you possibly can, number two. And obviously, we're recruitment professionals. There's some fabulous stories on LinkedIn about people who've hired very recently or most recently pre-lockdown, and then have had to let people go, in their first week or first month or what have you, but then managed to then get them other jobs through using their own networking portfolio, for instance. So obviously, if you do have to let people go, try and help them out, give them a steer in the right direction.
Definitely. No, that's really kind of some really good examples of companies doing that and working with individuals and kind of almost going the extra mile. It's almost like offboarding, but the experience is so much
absolutely
more than just thanks but no
thanks.
we
most
can't.
Definitely. And it goes back to my point earlier of talking and working collaboratively with your clients, and again just being a little bit more cerebral about the recruitment process and not being too stuck on this minimum 3 years or minimum 5 years, or degree in this or degree in that. There's going to be some incredibly talented people out there.
Yeah.
So open your minds.
In terms of opening minds then, so let's talk about the candidates and their kind of where they're going to be in the world in a couple of weeks, or whenever things start to picking up. I hope it is a couple of weeks. But you deal with language specifically as the kind of main underlying core service that you provide.
Yes.
Do you think that you will have more choice in terms of being able to present more candidates to your clients? Because geography or location, will that matter as much? Will that give you more of an edge?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because we're trying to sort of look into the future a bit here, and we've never been in this situation before. I think the general economy will obviously want to start up again as quickly as possible. So therefore, the global economy will want to help each other out. Again, we've going into lockdown, we went into a very nationalist mindset. We've closed our borders. We were fighting for PPE over other countries. We wanted to be the first country to develop a vaccine. So we went into this sort of slightly weird, uncomfortable nationalistic frame of mind. And I think post-lockdown, that will be opened up pretty quickly, because the global economy will want to restart. We'll need each other to do that. So I do think that we'll be all right in that respect. There will be, London is still an incredibly alluring place for different nationalities to come to, and that London will never lose that, and the UK in general will never lose that either. So no, I think we'll be all right on that front.